Welcome to Training Module 23, Standard Operating Procedures, Understanding the Basics. The outcome we're after is to help your staff examine and update your SOPs, but also to understand how they tie together and flow together. And so for that reason, what I want to do is walk you through the flow of these words and define them for you so you have a clear understanding of what you're talking about. Policies are the umbrella. They consist of high-level statements. They're typically designed or produced by senior management, and they're always principle-based, and they're tied to vision, mission, and value. And you don't need very many of them. Many organizations have way too many policies, and they don't need that many high-level statements. Standards consist of lower-level mandatory controls that help enforce and support policy. Standards, for example, with an information security policy, the standard would be password standards. Here's the rules for complexity, a minimum of 8 characters. It's a standard. It's not negotiable. It's just a standard. Guidelines are kind of negotiable. They're best practices, but they're not required, strongly recommended. Then the guidelines will change more readily than the standards, and policies seldom change. Now, when you flow down through the umbrella concept, the policy is the umbrella part. The standards and guidelines are the shaft of the umbrella. What you get your hand around is the procedures, checklists, and forms. This is what most of your staff will wrestle with. Procedures. How do you install Windows securely? Here's the detail. It consists of step-by-step instructions to assist workers in implementing various policies, standards, and guidelines. Procedures are what most of your staff needs to understand and get their hands on. Checklists are of two types. Read and do, or check when completed. They consist of visual reminders to prevent ignorance and inattention. And notice that checklists have to flow from procedures, procedures flow from standards and guidelines flow from policies. As you walk back up the umbrella, they all have to come in line. Forms are the written documentation that supports the SOPs. They consist of electronic and paper documentation necessary to make sure I'm doing what the standard operating procedures require me to do. Now, when you understand the umbrella concept of policies all the way down to forms, it'll help you to get your arms around how many policies do we have? Do we have too many? What are they? Your staff should be able to identify your policies. It should be very clear. And there should be a limited number of policies. Your board, your advisory board, is the one that establishes and approves policy. Our standards clearly established. The non-negotiables. Standards are, this is where the employees park. This is what employees wear. Those aren't procedures. They're not suggestions. Those are standards. Now, if you want to make employee dress code guidelines, that's fine. But understand that standards are clearly established. Are the procedures accurate and up to date? Remember, you're going to change and update procedures much more frequently than you will policies. Policies will stand the test of time. That's why you don't need too many of them. Are we using checklists? Do we have enough checklists? Where are our checklists? And what procedures do they support? And then do our forms actually match our checklists and our procedures? And so this will take some time for you as an agency to go through and understand. And one of the things you'll discover is that you have a lot of policies that need to be rewritten as procedures or standards. Remember, there should be a limited number of policies. They highlight the high-level stuff. Human resources policy. A hiring policy, no, because that's part of human resources. So what happens is we have way too many policies because our definitions are not accurate. How often have you gone to play golf if you're a golfer and you ask, well, what's your rain policy? Well, it's not really a rain policy, it's a rain standard, but we substitute the word policy in the place of standard and we assume that standards are policies, and that is frequently where we get messed up. Understand the flow. Policies are high level. Standards and guidelines are the next level. Procedures, checklists, and forms are the lower level, and they will change more frequently.